you everyone for joining. Welcome to the second occurrence of this series, the Future Talks. And today we will have Gaurav that will be giving out some tools and tips and some other information about personalization on AEM. So yeah, that's it. Gaurav, all yours.
Yeah, thanks, Clemente. So let me start sharing my screen and then you can right away get started the topic. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
All right, great. So welcome everyone to this session on personalization in AEM using out-of-the-box context hub. So the goal of this session today is to provide a high-level overview and demo of the personalization using out-of-the-box context hub framework, along with going through the configurations required to achieve that. And I'll also be going through the concepts related to personalization in AEM on a high level. And after the session, I hope the audience will be able to understand the basics of implementing it using out-of-the-box context hub. So from the agenda perspective, we'll look at the overview. Then after that, we'll look at quick demo on my local machine. Then we'll understand the configurations and concepts. Finally, we'll talk about few limitations about the context hub. And in case there are any questions, we can take that. And yeah, that's it. So starting with what is personalization? So personalization is basically the process of creating customized experiences for different users on your website rather than having one kind of single vanilla experience for all the visitors. So if we do personalization, marketers will be able to provide custom kind of tailored product and services as per the user profiles and the behavior that user has shown in the past. So based on that, there can be a lot of benefits to the business. For example, better conversions. So for example, if the user is seeing the relevant product recommendations, it's more likely that it will be converted to a lead or to a purchase. Improved customer loyalty is another benefit because the brand is showing proper recommendations as per the user's liking, so they are kind of more inclined to come back to the same brand for their future requirements and all. Increased time on site is another that we usually see. If I like a website, if I like the content and the products are as per my personalized likings, then as a user, I would like to spend more time on that. And for personalization, the brands actually have to gather some information about their customers, their behavior, their profile. So overall, also it gives a better understanding of the customers to the business. And that user data is kind of very important in recommending more future products to the users. So a few use cases of personalization could be the intranet pages. For example, some sites based on internal location, department role of a user. It could be sales a site like Amazon or other retailers. They can actually combine a user profile based on their sales history, their liked products or browsing history to make suggestions to guess basically what might interest the user next. Search websites also can record user behavior, and they can use the search terms they use or the links they click from the search results, and based on that they can target the ads as per the user preferences, so that there are more leads which are converted to the purchases or final outcome. So coming to AEM, personalization in AEM, it can be basically achieved out of the box through a context hub framework that we are going to see in the session. Also, there are some additional license tools like Adobe Target, which also can be integrated with AEM for more complex requirements of personalization. So in OOTB, Context Hub is the framework. It basically provides a way of presenting as well as storing the context data, which and also letting authors design the customized experiences for different audience. So internally, it has a segmentation engine as well, which let authors create and maintain different set of audience called as segments based on different attributes of the user. For example, the user profile attributes like gender, location, or maybe user likings, if that is captured, or uh, maybe the location from where user is now accessing the site, and so on. So there could be any attributes. It could be profile or behavior, and all those can be recorded. And based on that, segments can be created. We'll see that, like how to create segments and all. So now coming to the demo part. So first we will look at the demo of one of the page that I've created in the V-Retail site for the offers, for showing different offers to different users. And for this demo, it's pretty simple. We are going to target the users based on two attributes, the gender and the location. So we'll look at the anonymous, where the user is not logged in, and gender location information is not known. So the offers page will be shown in kind of default configuration. And then we will look at Walter, who is male from Toronto location, then Dexter, who is male from Vancouver, and then Sarah, who is female from Montreal. So these are three different users who will see three different experiences based on how the configuration has been done for that page. So quickly, I will just move to the demo. Yeah, so this is the top offers page that I have created for this demo. And if you see that the user is not logged in, so this is showing the anonymous user. So we have a section at the top, which kind of hero component, which has a title and then button and then some pre-header with an image, and then there is a section top offers. So this and this are the two components that are targeted in this page, and all others remains the same. So basically, it's up to the authors how targeting needs to be done. So for this demo, we have targeted this one and this one. So this is the default page. Now I will just quickly go to incognito to log in with another user. Oh, already I am logged in. All right, so let me log out. I'll come back to this. So right now I'm top offers. If I'm logged out, I still see the same. And we will first log in with Walter, who's a male from Toronto. So once we log in, this is what we see. So if you see the header, pre-header has been changed to target men's winter gear. And this is about the location. It says, and then there is a different image also that is being shown. Also, authors are trying to target specifically if there are any offers in location-wise Toronto. So this user sees that. If we go to the profile, if we see this user has these two states based on which it is kind of being targeted. Now, if we go to another user here as well, I'm logged in. Let me log out. So this time we will log in with Walter, not Walter, sorry, Dexter. And now if you see, we get this user is from Vancouver. So it gets another image, another title, and then finally this. And the third one is, again, I'm already logged in. I'll not log out this time, but this is the final user, Sarah from Montreal. And here, if you see, we have some women's collection that we are targeting, and this one remains the same. So overall, if we see, based on these two attributes, the authors have configured to target as per the audience. This is one segment, there's another segment, and this is third segment. So based on this, there can be any segments that can be created with one or more kind of attributes with a location. For example, for this, the segment has been created that the gender should be male and it should be the location should be Toronto. So there can be multiple permutation combination that can be created for segments that we'll see as well in the configuration. So that was about how it works in the publish and for the end users. Now we'll quickly move to see how it all works technically behind the scenes. So configurations and concepts. All right, so Context Hub framework is the one which is actually making all of this work. So it provides the JavaScript library. So all of this handling actually happens client side. The user data as well as the resolving the context and showing the correct content as per the user profile. It all happens in the client side. So there is a JavaScript library that comes with Context Hub framework, which has to be included in all the pages of the website to enable that. And it stores the all of this information gets stored in the persistence object, which is defined by Context Hub framework. And there are different stores for storing the context data. So by stores, basically different categorization of different information is stored about the user and its behavior. And there are some default stores, like we have default components in AEM. There are some default stores in AEM that it comes out of the box. And there is a possibility to create more stores as well. And then there is a segmentation engine that I mentioned that provides ability to create the segments or audiences, as we say, and also it resolves the segments on the page context. And finally, it also provides authoring screens so that authors can actually configure and monitor the personalization being in authoring environment before it is all published for the live site. So let's look at where the context data is stored. So as I mentioned, it is stored in the context in the client side. So in the browser local storage. So there is a context hub persistence object, which basically contains all the information about it. Let's quickly see that in the actual screen. So I'm back to Chrome. So if I go to local storage, I'll just try to increase it. Yeah, so this is the object which is created by Context Hub framework, Context Hub persistence, and it has the information, and there are a lot of store objects inside it. And if you see these abandoned products, cart, emulators, geolocation, all of these are basically information stores which are storing different information about the users. For example, if you see the profile, it stores this information. If we, I think we're not logged in. Okay, let me show that in the login view. That will be better. So if we see, yeah, here it is actually showing information about the user and geolocation, and then which device the user is using. And there are something related to cart, like if there is anything in the cart of the user or not. For example, user might have added a few things in the cart but have not yet checked out. So based on that, some different targeting can be done so that to let the user complete that purchase and so on. So all of these are different stores that we have, and these come out of the box. But for the actual project, it can be created kind of, it can be customized as well. So for example, this stores that I talked about, these are the different backend configuration that we have to do for Context Hub, geolocation, and surfer info that we see here. Surfer info, which talks about, which mentions about the which browser the user is using, and so on. So all of these are supposed to be configured and in terms of stores, and all of this configuration goes in the Context Hub configuration that has to be created. So if I show you this path, sorry, in CRXTE, let's look at it. So this is the default configuration that comes out of the box for Context Hub. So these are the stores, for example, for geolocation, for server info, for profile, and so on. So all of these are from a base store and has its own configuration JS. So for example, tomorrow, if we want to create our own store with any of the information which is not currently being captured, then we'll have to kind of extend it and create our own store, which is possible, but it is out of kind of scope for this demo because it takes its own session. So as of now, we're just referring to the cloud context. But as per Adobe recommendation, if this needs to be implemented in production, a new configuration should be created. And coming to the different consoles that we see in personalization, whenever you log in and go to the main screen, this is a personalization section. These are the three different sections that we see. So about these, what are so quickly, basically audience is nothing but segments, and it defines who you are targeting basically as a part of the campaign. So there can be any number of segments defined as per the various attributes available based on the behavior. Offers is nothing but it defines what do you want to offer. For example, we saw 2 or 3 different versions of the same component for a page. So all of each of it is basically an offer, which will have its unique content that needs to be shown for every segment. And activity is basically just the combination of all audience and offers, which is, we can think of it as an instance of personalization, which defines when and how, basically on what page and till when the one activity should be started and till when it should end. For example, there could be a targeting that the marketers want to do for a winter season, but there could be another activity that needs to be done specifically for the Christmas week. So there could be one activity starts from the winter season and runs for 3 months until winter ends, but another activity which basically runs only for a 1 week from before and it ends after Christmas. So all of these activities will use offer and audiences, but there can be as many activities as the authors want to run on the site. So also let's quickly see the segment here. So in case of every project basically can have its own segments. For example, in V-Retail, we will see all of this come by default, where it is basically targeting different attributes. For example, let me edit one, which says kind of a segment for male. So all the male audiences being targeted here, and it works basically based on the out of the box context hub components, and it can be kind of created. All of these conditions can be created here. For example, this is pretty simple one where the property profile gender, this is where AEM stores the profile information for a user. It should be equal to the value male. So if it is equal to value male, then it basically this segment will be resolved. So for this demo, there was an additional created for these two custom. So if we look at mail from Toronto, it is actually referencing the previous segment using the segment reference. So there is no need to kind of create all those rules again. Sometimes the segment could be a combination of 5, 6 complicated rules, or it can be referenced in another segment, and then another property which should go in addition to this for resolving this segment can also be created. And at the top, this is where the authors can also see what all segments are kind of resolved. There are segments that can be created for location, segments based on the kind of device, screen orientation, and so on. So whichever segment matches the current user, it shows in green. So for example, right now I am logged in as administrator and I've filled in the gender as male. So that's why it is showing as green, but city is not configured as Toronto. So it is not shown as Toronto or not shown as green. And it also shows what are the other segments that are getting resolved for the current user. So authors can also try to impersonate a user profile while creating all of these segments here. So we'll see offer and activities as part of the page configuration that I'll show. So let's quickly look at the basic configuration that it takes to make it run. So first thing is we have to include the context hub component in the page component, the basic page component. So for example, for V retail, we have a page component under here. So in the header libs, there is an inclusion of context hub. So this component needs to be included in the page component so that it is part of all the pages that are getting authored. And this basically enables and activates the context hub for a particular site. And this comes as a part of archetype as well. Any archetype, any new project that we create with latest archetypes, it comes as a part of that. So it need not be done manually. If it needs to be removed, it can be, but it comes automatically by default these days. Next thing is we have to enable the context hub in configuration browser. So for every new project that we create, there is a configuration that gets created. If you go to tools, there is a configuration browser. So for every project deployed in AEM, there will be a configuration created here. So for example, for vRetail, for a vRetail or any new project, we have to come here and make sure that this context hub segments is enabled for this to work. So this is second thing. Then third is basically context hub configuration creation. This needs to be created for creating stores and module UI. So stores, as I explained a few slides back, that it's basically can be used out of the box or through new customized stores. So as of now, we are going to use this, but in the configuration, if I go back, for a new project, it has to be created in sites and context hub. Here, if you see, a new configuration needs to be created for based on the configuration for that site. A new configuration needs to be created for context hub. However, as of now, as I explained, we are just using out of the box legacy one. And apart from that, we have to create the segments that we just saw. So segments are based on the target audience. This is first thing that we have to, this is also the initial thing that we have to do. And then finally, the page properties needs to be updated with all of this information. So this goes at the top level page, for example, for vRetail site, if we go to the page properties, so one thing is to provide the configuration, cloud configuration. This is kind of not specific to cloud context hub, but in general, just to have to make sure that this is there. And in case of personalization, I think it is on EN level. Not here. Yeah, so one thing is we have to make sure that there is a configuration is mentioned in the advanced tab. And next is the personalization, the context hub path that we will create custom for a new project. As of now, it has the default one, and the segments where all the segments for this have been created. For example, we saw one for mail from Toronto. So it is, this path has to be configured in the page properties. And once this is done, then we have this working. So final thing is just how author are going to target. I can quickly show that on the page. So this is the top offers page that I created. If I edit this, if all the context of configuration, the basic configuration that I mentioned is done properly, then on the right side, it will have a targeting option enabled. So authors have to click on that targeting first. And then once it is clicked on targeting, the whole page goes in the targeting mode. And now you will see that the components are not editable anymore unless the authors start targeting. So in the left side, the brand, it's usually just the one brand based per site. So brand needs to be selected. And this is what the activity is. For example, as of now, it says top inter offers. So we are targeting for activity, and this activity will have the configuration for start date and end date and priority. So there could be more activities like for specifically for Christmas, which runs for a week, specifically for New Year, which runs for 2 days, and so on, based on the activity. And let's say now if I click start, then it will show the targeting mode. And here, if we see, we actually configured this hero image and top offers. And in case of product grid, this is not targeted yet. So you will notice that there is a icon that is coming up to indicate that this is not targeted. And if you want, you can start targeting it. However, the components which are already targeted, it will say disable targeting. So what authors have to do is, these are the different audiences that are being targeted as of now. Default comes by default. So male from Toronto, male from Vancouver, female. And when you click on each, you get another option to kind of edit this. For example, for Toronto, this is the values it is edited, it is included with. Then we have for Vancouver another version of the same component. For female, another version. For example, you want to add another experience, it will show, like, first ask you to for which audience you want to target. So for example, let's say we want to target for female over 30, and it will ask you now to create an experience. Experience is nothing but just a name of the experience which you want to target for this particular audience. So let's say I create this, and now if we go to this, it starts showing the default again, which was there. And then authors can get a chance to edit this as they want. Once this is done, click on next. Then it will just show you again the mapping of what all audiences you have configured. And then finally, there's an option to provide a start and end. By default, it is as soon as it is activated and when deactivated. And then once you save it, just publish the page, and then it will start targeting that. So this is what is described on this. And finally, quick overview of few limitations. So as this is done client side, so it needs to be done in limits so that page performance is not affected, because if it is kind of freely customized, then it will have to be constructed every time through JavaScript whenever user requests it. That could result in some of the page performance. And next is that since it is working client side again, so it will load the default content first, and then it shows the personalized content. So for some users with slower internet connection, they might see a flicker from old content to new content, and from default content to personalized content, which may be noticed by users. And third thing is, again, it is users might deny their consent to share their data. And since this data is stored client side, it will not be possible to show personalized content to those users. And finally, I just want to leave you guys with some of the surveys that I saw online, why personalization is important. And based on, let's say, one Adobe survey, it results in a lot of improvements in various aspects of business, provides a kind of good return per dollar spent. And based on this survey from McKinsey, it says that 71% of consumers expect personalization, 76% of consumers do not kind of get frustrated if they don't find that. So kind of it's very much important in today's world to have personalization for the websites. And finally, if you want to have more references, I've just added some links from Adobe documentation to go into more details of anything which was not covered in the session. And finally, in case there are any questions, please, you can ask now. Otherwise, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Gaurav, very much. We are on time now, but we do have a couple of questions,
Yeah.
and then they'll drop off. So maybe we can follow up this question on by email or maybe right here in the chat afterwards.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, thank you very much for this presentation. It was really cool. Thank you everyone for attending, and I hope to see you again in the next one.